Peace and positive. This is Amelia A. Altar, aka Emily MC, author of Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. And today's episode is the last day of 31 days of hip hop mental health. Tap in for a recap of the entire series, bonus clips, and quick looks at all 31 ways to better healing, hip hop, and mental health. Now, before we get into some clips from the global community, we're looking at brief snapshots of how we got here. We're taking a step back and looking at this series in a full-length mirror. Don't we look good, y'all? Any side is a good side, type-ish. Now, 3 quick reminders of why we're here and our final mention of science and stats on mental and emotional health. Number 1. According to the World Health Organization, depression and anxiety increased by at least 25% across all groups since the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in the United States, someone dies by suicide every 11 minutes, and it's the second leading cause of suicide in youth ages 10 to 14. And number 3, according to the American Psychological Association, more than half of adults report that technology and social media have significantly increased their stress levels. Now, this series was created to directly address all of this and much more as best it could. As legendary tennis professional and eloquent social icon Arthur Ashe once said, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." So we're using day 31 to scan the full tasting menu of hip-hop mental health and feature some of the videos which didn't get a previous chance to shine, but still deserved to be curated and seen. Now for each day's deep dive, I'll show you the quote and the prompt of that episode one more again, followed by its respective bonus clip. Some will have one, some will have a few. As always, timestamps are in the comments, and my free PDF of mental health resources is in the description box. Now, if you've been following along, we're all out of journal and discussion prompts. Yep, we did all 31. But the day 31 quote brings us full circle to the title of the book. Thank you all for your support of this random but inspired idea turned digital series, as well as the book, ebook, audiobook, and in-person events. And without further ado, let's roll those clips and hear from the global community about hip-hop culture, creative intelligence, suicide prevention, and 31 ways to better mental health. Peace. Day 1, on the power of music.
You don't want to be sad and heartbroken, right? This is Music and Mental Health, where I'm going to talk to you about how the music you listen to can be affecting your mental health. I think that we underestimate just how much the music and the things that we consume daily affects us mentally and emotionally. And I say this because I used to be an R&B girly. Damn. I used to love me some good heartbreak songs, some Summer Walker, some SZA, Jhené Aiko. I was always ready to get into some good old heartbreak tunes. And I always said, oh, I can listen to R&B, I can listen to heartbreak music all day because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my mood. It does. If you're spending all day listening to music about being brokenhearted, broke, grieving, being cheated on, being abused, where does that get you? It gets you sadness. It's ultimately what you're thinking about all day. What you focus on is what you become. Because of that realization, a couple years ago, I actually ended up cutting a lot of artists out of my musical diet. I think we tend to underestimate how much the things that we're listening to affect our own thresholds for what we will accept. If you're constantly listening to and deeping music about being mistreated, it has the ability to lower your own threshold for what you recognize as mistreatment. If you have a partner in your life that is treating you poorly, you can rationalize it in your head and be like, well, this person's not that bad because Summer Walker's man was treating her like dirt. And that's backwards. What we need to be doing, in my opinion, is listening to music that increases our threshold. Listening to music about joy, listening to music about making money, about healthy relationships, about family and love. And I know it's not as easy to find that kind of music, but you actually have to try. I just started listening to a lot more Afrobeats personally. It's just a lot more uplifting. It's a lot more joyful, depending on the music you listen to, of course. Making an adjustment to things that you ingest and listen to daily seems like a really small change, but it has the potential to make a really large impact on your mental health. What music you listen to that actually makes you happy?
I realized that the way I can articulate myself when I write was something special there because you're feeling what I want you to feel.
Yeah,
So
I'm getting the result.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
with
see
you
it.
now.
We're connected.
Right.
And I just remember
Interesting.
that. And then when I started to understand how to put my life into words, it started to be therapeutic for me because now it's like, oh, I did deal with that. Oh, that is trauma. Wow, I did go through that. How did I overcome that? And now I'm putting it in my music, and that's why my music has always been about motivation. It's been about how can I help you with my pain? How can I prevent you from feeling what I felt? And even if you do, how do I make you feel like you're not alone in this? So I came back, and my first album was Thug Motivation because I wanted to set it up like a class.
That's cool.
This is something you sit down and then my second album was The Inspiration, right? And then my third album was The Recession. And the crazy thing is I got the recession from being in a room with these guys. I'm in a room with all these guys that got all this money, and they were so concerned. They was like, the recession is coming. I'm thinking about selling this and doing that, and I got to get rid of this business. And I'm going like, you guys got a lot of money. Like, what are you worried about? And he's like, do you know what a recession is? I'm like, yeah, but I didn't. So I went back and Googled it, and I'm like, huh. So when I wrote The Recession, that was me running back to tell the culture what I just learned. Because we know what a drought is, but a drought on the money is totally different. So if you think you're living bad now, you're going to live even worse, right? So that was my intentions when I wrote The Recession, to tell people what was going on. And I just caught that moment in time where it hit, and that music was like the soundtrack for what everybody was going through.
And it was The Recession.
Right.
Yeah,
and it just, right when I dropped it, that's when they announced it. And it was huge. When I say huge, it was crazy. And every interview I did after that, I started to really notice again, hear those words. Because now I'm writing about what I'm learning instead of just what I'm doing, and I'm putting it together. And now my interviews are different. Like, people asking me real questions. They're not asking me, well, what's up with Lil Ray Ray? It's like now, like, so what do you think about the president?
Day 2. What did school really teach us?
Child suicide rates have exploded 400% since we expanded mandatory schooling, and the connection will horrify you. Here's a timeline. The 1970s, school days increased from 180 to 200 plus days. In the 80s, standardized testing became mandatory. In the 1990s, zero tolerance policies were implemented. In the 2000s, there were increased homework loads and pressure. In 2010s, social media is added with 24/7 peer pressure. And by 2020, there's 400% increase in anxiety and 300% increase in depression. The pattern, more school equals more mental health destruction. What we've created is children who fear failure more than death. Kids who believe their worth equals their test scores, and teens who can't function without peer approval. Young adults who can't handle real-world changes. We're not educating children. We're traumatizing them systematically.
I am going to say something, and some of you are going to get so triggered. You're going to start moving your little fingers to type something mean in the comments, and I'm just going to say I don't care, okay? I'm also going to preface what I'm going to say with, I was raised in East Atlanta in Zone 6 to a single mother. My father was incarcerated. All of the statistics were stacked against me, okay? Okay, hear me out. Whenever a young Black person says college just isn't for me, I am so sad, because I feel like that's code for I have some type of learning disability or learning delay that nobody ever took the time to help me through, or college is expensive, or I don't see the value in being educated or reading or being more learned. You know what I mean? And some people will say, well, you don't need college to be educated, or you don't need college to know things. And while I agree, you don't need college, a lot of y'all are not going to not go to college and still read. A lot of y'all are not going to not go to college and seek some type of higher education or way of critically thinking, a way to learn how to critically think. College is not just a check mark. It really is a pivotal point in a young person's career of making or breaking who they are as a person, learning different social skills, learning how to navigate the world. Even if you don't go into corporate America, like college or some type of higher education teaches you so much. And as Black people specifically, I think that we need to be learning something. And a lot of people that say college isn't for me, they don't take the time to learn something. But me being someone that loves to learn, whenever someone says college isn't for me, I think about all the things that they will miss out on in college and how somebody along the way failed them because learning is no longer desirable to them.
Day 3. Is the culture exhausted?
You don't overwork because you love productivity. You overwork because the era that shaped you taught you that effort equals value. So when life feels uncertain, you compensate by doing more, giving more, and being more. You call it ambition, but it's an emotional reflex, a survival rhythm, a pattern you learned long before you had language for it. And here is the truth you never hear enough. Your worth isn't earned through output. You don't have to exhaust yourself to exist.
I don't care how nothing gets paid. I'm going to go get my nails fixed. I'm going to take my stepdaughter over to an adventure park to celebrate her 15th birthday that we didn't get to celebrate yet. I don't care.
So she tired.
I don't care anymore. To continue to work hard, to sweat, to cry, to be angry, just to afford to live. I'm not doing it no more. I don't care how the lights get paid. I don't care how nothing gets paid. I'm not doing it no more. You know it's bad when you're borrowing money from Cash App.
I didn't know that was
and a lot of us are doing that. We all fixing to end up in civil court over Cash App. Borrow limit. Afterpay.
Man.
And then people tell you half favor is going to get better. No, it's not. It's going to get worse. If you don't know the word, then just say that. A lot of us have been struggling like this all of our lives. And to know that it's going to get worse is like, damn. We ain't going to ever be able to enjoy it. Especially when you've been struggling all your life. Just to find out it's fixing to get worse. So I'm going to make it better for me in the moment. I can't afford to do anything else. If we don't do something for ourselves just to keep ourselves sane, we're going to go crazy. And I refuse. After everything that I've been through in life, to allow the devil to make me go crazy because of some shit that's out of our control.
Man, people are tired. People are starting to crack, man, mentally, physically, man. People is getting sick. Man, we are in a time where everything is super inflated except the paychecks, bro. You know, even the light bill, water bill, you know, property taxes, insurance, all that mess is going up except people paycheck. And people already working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Now, some people got 2 jobs. They're working 2 full-time jobs, 80 hours, and then you still got to go hustle.
Everyone talks about how social media is bad for your mental health, but what about work? You know, like I've never opened Instagram and had someone ask me, you know, if I was free for a quick call. You know, social media has never sent me a meeting invite, you know, for a meeting that could have been an email. And people are always like, oh, you should spend less time on your phone. Okay, but can I spend less time at work too? Because I think I found the bigger contributor here. Yeah, my screen time report has never started with, Hey, just wanted to circle back. My phone has never ended an interaction with per my last message, okay? And the craziest part is everyone treats work stress like that's just a part of being an adult. It's non-negotiable. There's nothing we can do about this. You'll tell someone, yeah, I think my job is making me lose my mind. And they'll respond, yeah, that's it. That's how life goes. What? No follow-up questions, no concern, just a collective agreement that we've all accepted that this is how life has to be for those of us who were not born into generational wealth. And then Friday comes around and everyone suddenly remembers who they used to be. People are smiling, making plans, using exclamation points and text. And then Monday hits, and we're all back in our natural habitat, pretending an email marked high importance is somehow my emergency too.
Day 4. Is fasting from mental health junk food necessary?
It's interesting how food impacts your mood. So I'm sitting here getting ready for the gym, child, and I'm just thinking about my morning. I'm like, yo, my morning was pretty solid. Like, what made my morning feel so grounded? And when I thought about it, it's like, oh, I fasted this morning. Not even trying to, just didn't have a taste for anything. And I just immediately went into work. But I had such a clear mind. I was focused. I got a lot of work done. And I didn't have a lot of fog in terms of the steps I needed to do to get certain things done. We hear podcasts and all kind of TikToks talking about emotional regulation, what books and what steps to read or take. But I don't really hear people talking about fasting as a way of emotional regulation. Because in truth, it really is. I don't know what it is, but it's like the moment I eat, it's like it awakens my emotions. And the way I would have responded in a fasted state versus the way I would respond with maybe food on my stomach, a lot of times it's different. I feel like I'm slower to respond when I'm in a fasted state. I feel like I'm more calm versus sometimes when I got food on my stomach or I've already eaten, I can feel irritable, I can feel tired, I can feel maybe too tired to even have a conversation, So I think that's to be looked at. If you grew up in church, you've heard about fasting. If you are a spiritual person, you've heard about fasting. But even if you're not into those things, understand fasting has a lot of principles, has a lot of beneficial elements to it for us. But I don't really hear people talking about how fasting really regulates your mood. I could do a whole series talking about fasting because I have fasted for years. My longest fast, and when I say fast, I'm talking about water fasting, like water only. I've done numerous amounts of water fasts. My longest water fast was 11 days? So let me know if y'all want me to go into detail, but I just wanted to say that if you decide to fast, or think about the times where you went without eating and didn't even realize it, didn't you get a lot done during that time? I'm sure you did. It's something about it. It's just like you're focused, you have the energy.
Fasting from eating is amazing. It's great. It shows great discipline. It's great for your body. But fasting from people is necessary too. Fasting from people is necessary too. It teaches you not to be so attached in unhealthy situations and to reevaluate relationships. Because sometimes how we feel and our emotions and our feelings and all that gets so entangled that we cannot see. So stepping back gives us a new viewpoint on it and helps us make better decisions with people, places, and things. So fasting from people is necessary too. That's the message.
Day 5. Are words really that powerful?
Affirmations are spoken with your mouth, your voice. Now, science shows that when you speak something, it's at least 10 times, the frequency is at least 10 times as powerful as your thoughts. Most people, mental health conditions are caused because people are literally stuck in their thoughts. They think they're the thoughts. You're not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go. So the beauty of you is that at any point you can speak it into existence. You can literally create a frequency that's never existed before anytime you want through your words. That's the power you have as a co-creator with the universe. And so if you're stuck in your thoughts, one of the best ways to exit that, when you have a negative thought, nope, I'm going to 30x speak the opposite of that. I am powerful. I'm amazing. I'm powerful, right? And that's beautiful, right? And if you keep doing that, your cells are going to get that frequency. In the beginning, you're not going to believe it, right? Because you've been programmed through generations and lifetimes. But little by little by little by little, speak it into existence. Universe intelligent. Nothing happens on accident. It's going to start to infuse into your intron DNA, which is projecting your hologram. Now, the next layer to this is you can add the emotional body, which is incantations, which is when you start to, when you're driving in the car, you're like adding your emotion into it. You're not just saying, I'm powerful, I'm powerful, I'm powerful. No, you're saying avalanches of God's love, joy, and abundance is flowing, circulating, and flooding into my life. All of my goals, needs, and desires are now being met instantaneously by divine infinite intelligence, for I am one with God and God is one with all. And you keep repeating that for 20, 30 minutes in a row.
Day 6. Can music really be positive or negative?
Music is used to brainwash people into thinking a certain way, true or false?
I think certain music. So I'd say some music can definitely influence you to do different things, and other music.
I think, deadass, this is my take, fam, is some music is almost, when you repeat it to yourself, it becomes an affirmation.
Yeah, it does.
True. And whatever, if it's positive or good energy compared to evil or negative energy, you'll take on that and you'll become what it is.
You feel like you will be a different person if you listen to like different music?
Yeah, 100%, bro.
100%. Yeah, I think so too as well.
I was listening to like some hippie music, bro. It changes your mind.
Like rap in general is being censored in other countries because they're thinking the lyrics are too aggressive and violent, and it's promoting violence.
I think that's true though.
So I think music definitely does influence people to act a certain type of way.
Day 7. On birthday stress and the birthday industrial complex.
No funny shit. When it's my birthday, I want to be left alone. If I'm not traveling, I'm not doing something really exciting, like traveling, I want to be left alone. If I'm not in another country, I want to be left alone for my birthday, bro. Because I get birthday depression. That ass. Like, birthday depression is real. And a lot of people get that shit. But when it's your friend's birthday, you want to do the most. You want to do this, you want to book this, you want to get them this. Like, you playing everything out right. Well, some of your friends. But me, I want to do everything. But when it's my birthday, I want to be left alone. I get that depression. Like, oh, fuck, man, I'm getting old, man. But fuck, look at my life.
Birthdays are emotional, as is like leading up to your birthday, it is stressful. You have all these thoughts, you have all these emotions, you're attached to your current age, like you just got adjusted to it and you're finally okay with it, and then boom, you're another year older. And then there's this anxiety of getting older and this anxiety of your parents getting older. And then there's this realization of like, oh my God, I'm a year older and I still don't know what I'm doing and I'm not even close to where I thought I'd be in my life at this age. And then there's just this overwhelming feeling of I'm stepping into a new chapter of my life and I don't know what's going to happen next, and that gives me anxiety. All of that is a lot. That's a lot to digest, and you don't want to be alone dealing with that. You want to be surrounded by people that love you and you love them. We want to have support, and when we don't have that, it's like, fuck, maybe I am as alone as I feel.
My birthday's tomorrow, and I genuinely feel like birthdays are the most stressful day of the entire year, because everyone in my life, every family, every friend, everyone I've ever worked with is asking me, what do you want to do for your birthday? Where do you want to go for your birthday? What do you want for your birthday? I want to be free from the mental labor that is making plans. I want to be free from calling a restaurant and making a reservation. I want to be free from adding an item to my cart. I can do that by myself. The point is, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to make all those decisions. I am paralyzed by decision making. For one day, I want to be free from that. That's all.
Day 8. On courage, leaving, and the psychology of endings.
So one of the best things that I learned in my 20s was knowing when to leave. Relationships, friendships, jobs, cities. And I haven't always left at the precise moment. I probably should have. But one thing about me, She's a runner, she's a track star. She's going to run away if you make my life unnecessarily hard. I don't mean leaving the moment something becomes difficult. Some things are actually worth repairing. Some seasons require patience. But there comes a point where staying is no longer a question of loyalty, it is self-abandonment. And learning to recognize that point can actually change your life and sometimes save it. It requires believing that the uncertainty on the other side might actually be better than the certainty that is slowly diminishing you. And that's why we often stay, not because something is right, but because staying feels familiar. Whereas leaving forces you to disappoint people. You have to grieve what you hoped something would become. You have to accept that time invested is not always a reason to continue to invest more. It asks you to choose the hard thing over the comfortable thing. But I've learned that when leaving is the harder thing to do, it is often the most honest thing to do. And 9 times out of 10, it's the best thing to do.
Day 9. Athletes and artists on sports depression and stage anxiety.
I was depressed. I had been depressed for 3 years. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my identity. Life was weird. This was something I had done since 8 years old, always on the go playing basketball, and it just stopped. Athletes do need mental health. You see a lot of things happen with athletes after they're done. There's a mental health issue there that it needs to be explored on why we go through this. I had no idea. It felt like death. It felt like somebody had literally died. Like the feeling if a close family member died, it felt like that with not having basketball. And so there is something psychological that goes on through us that I didn't know I would feel like that. I didn't leave the house. I couldn't watch the basketball because it hurt so much. What happened was I got injured and I didn't get picked back up to go in. And I'm like, my career can't end like this. And my parents were like, you got to get outside. You got to get out. I knew if I did not get out and start getting active and finding some other kind of creativity that I would deteriorate. And we have seen that in other athletes. I would encourage athletes, you have to find something that gives you that same feeling as basketball. Creativity in films gave me that. I got the same feeling. Thank God I had that. That saved me. Because you do go through this thing of like, nobody's calling your name no more. Nobody's yelling for you or nobody's asking you to sign autographs. It's kind of like you're getting lost in the abyss. It is really, really tough. So I do encourage athletes who are transitioning to find something, just stay busy finding something that can give you that feeling. And you have to get a therapist. I didn't have a therapist with my injuries or not playing again. And I wish I had done that earlier because that would have saved me a lot of depression.
Let's talk about stage fright. To me, stage fright is really us as the performer holding some negative core belief about ourselves, right? I don't sing good enough, or I don't play good enough, or I believe that I don't look aesthetically pleasing. There's something that I dislike about myself. There's some insecurity that I hold within my psyche, within my mind, that I'm afraid that the audience is going to reaffirm or confirm. I'm afraid that the audience is going to see all of the flaws that I see in the mirror or all of the negative things I think about myself, right? And so the fear is not even of the performance itself. Usually it's not about the music or the moment itself. It's about this fear that these people that have their eyes on me, they're going to know these things that I believe about myself. In psychology, I believe they call it confirmation bias. As the performer, our job is to really service the music. Even if you do make a mistake, right? You can take that and flip that mistake. You can use those mistakes live and in your performance. You don't have to crumble under the pressure of your own insecurity. Because 9 times out of 10, your audience is there and they're rooting for you. You as the performer, us as the performer, we have to walk into the situation knowing that our audience doesn't see our insecurities. They don't see the things that we see, that they are rooting for us, right? And that we're here to have fun and service the music and to be present in the moment.
Stephen Curry, Naomi Osaka, Patrick Mahomes, Simone Biles. You know what all these athletes have in common with you as an amateur athlete? Y'all all get nervous and anxious. Y'all are more alike than you actually even know it. I don't care if you don't get any playing time. I don't care if you're the slowest person on your team. It doesn't matter. That's the thing that all athletes have in common. Not just athletes, but anyone who's going into a high-stakes situation where there's a lot of pressure, maybe a lot of people. So as an athlete, you have to understand, I'm going into this competition. I know that there are a lot of things at stake. I know that my competition is tough, but then you have to reframe it and understand that because of this, I can actually do it, because if the greats are nervous and anxious, surely I can be. And the thing that you get around it is you take one moment, one play, one race at a time. And when times get crazy, the first thing that you have to do is refocus on your process. What is it that I need to do right now? What is it that I need to focus on right now to get the best chance of getting the outcome that I'm looking for? Not who's next to me, not who's better than me, none of those things. It's about you. You have to be extremely selfish in terms of how you focus when it comes to competition. We all need the same support. It doesn't matter how good you become. It doesn't matter how bad you are. We all in it together. You got it.
If I tapped you on the shoulder right now, you wouldn't feel any pain at all. But if you were not wearing a shirt and your skin was exposed, furthermore, if you had a burn on your shoulder, so your nerve endings were close to the surface, if I tapped you with the same force, you'd feel extreme, excruciating pain, even though the external event was no different.
Right.
So sensitivity magnifies the pain that we have. Sensitivity also leads to more creativity. So very often, the most creative people also have the most pain. Which is why so many creative people escape from their pain through all kinds of dysfunctions like addictions and so on. So there's a real link between creativity and sensitivity, and creativity and sensitivity and suffering at the same time. That's the first point I would make. Now, the other thing goes back to what you said about these people that you know who are high performers. Look at that word performers. What does it mean to perform? One meaning of it is to put on a show.
Sure, that's one meaning.
And I would have been one of these people who was a high performer. In other words, looked at from the outside, successful family doctor, director of a palliative care unit at a major hospital, national columnist for Canadian newspaper, writing medical columns, performing at a high level. And inside, again, anxious, frustrated, depressed, discouraged, and in my personal life, a lot of suffering. So a lot of people who perform well are actually deeply troubled inside. And of course, there's many famous examples of that. Some of the greatest performers, like Presley or Marilyn Monroe, and any number of people I could name, that's what they were. They were performers. And even from themselves, they hid their own suffering.
Day 10, being yourself, self-esteem, and the authenticity paradox.
Just a little mental health tip with you. I'm wearing this shirt that says being yourself is cool, and I wanted to tell you how long it took me to get to that spot where I felt like I could totally be myself. And it took a long time, and I just want to tell you to not take that long to get to know yourself. Which ear does this one go on? To get to know yourself, to get to be you, because guess what? Being you, being authentic, that's the only thing that you can do in this world. It is so exhausting to try to be what everybody else wants you to be. And I tried that for so many years. In my teens, I tried to be exactly what my parents wanted me to be. In my 20s, I was trying to be exactly what my husband wanted me to be. And don't get me wrong, I love my parents and I love my husband. This is about me. This is not about them. I was just trying so hard to be a pleaser, to be what everyone else wanted, that I neglected myself and my own needs. And I don't want you to do that. So this is just a message for you. Don't wait until you are in your 40s to figure out that you're pretty cool and that you should be you. That you can have pink hair if you want to, that you can wear too much makeup and have people tell you, you look so much better when you don't wear any. That you can wear 2 different earrings if that makes you happy. That you can do whatever you want. You can go to a movie by yourself because nobody else wants to see that movie because it's stupid. You can love the things that you want to love and don't feel cringy about them, and do the things that you want to do because you're important.
Some of you, God wants to move into different places and bring you into different relationships, but you got to be able to handle all of the different aspects of that. And some of you need to become comfortable in being all of who you are. And stop holding back parts of who you are because you're afraid that nobody is going to be able to handle it. Then that's not your people. And I don't have an issue with, I'm not one of those forget them haters, because I don't think we have as many haters as we think we do. I think we're just really a little bit extra with that hater thing. But what you do have is people around that maybe can't transition with you in all of the aspects of who you are. And so then that's making it difficult. Be your full self. This is something I tell my daughter all the time. She gone, she would say it for me. She's volunteering. She don't went to her post because we're serving. I tell her, be you so your people can find you. They can't see you if you don't be you.
The therapists who are the most successful in this field are the therapists who are able to really imbue aspects of themselves almost effortlessly into how they actually practice and show up in this work. Everybody wants to know the hacks, the tips, and the tricks to getting the perfect client, but y'all also do not want to do the work of figuring out how to actually deprogram yourself from the bullshit that was indoctrinated into us. Do you really want to know why people flock to me and are willing to pay out of pocket? Do you really want to know why people choose to stick with me for years? It's because I curse like a fucking sailor. My values are not a secret. I talk about politics. I dress however the fuck I want to dress. I let my people eat and show up as they are in session. I don't give a fuck if you want to do a video call versus a phone call. I be outside. People love the fact that I'm a sex worker. People love the fact that I'm vocal, that I am very clearly my authentic self. People love the fact that I'm not picture perfect. Like, that's the shit that people actually care about. They don't give a fuck about what trainings I had or how many years I was at a particular program or this and that. If somebody did want to ask those questions, sure, I can let them know all the shit. I could show them my resume. But at the end of the day, that's not what people are really looking for when they're looking for a provider. They want somebody who they know that they can actually come up and be themselves with, and somebody who isn't going to judge them, somebody who they can feel safe enough to soften just a little bit more to actually get to that deeper level of processing that is required for them to continue down this path of healing. There are no tips and tricks.
Day 11, turning flaws into strengths and mental alchemy.
Are flaws really flaws? Or are they just traits we haven't fully understood, integrated, or expressed constructively? You see, I've started a new miniseries called Shattered into Light, and that's made me question the whole idea of brokenness, wholeness, and what it is to be flawed. And I want to reframe some flaws, some perceived flaws. For instance, perfectionism, that's just high standard, and a desire for excellence. Stubbornness, that's determination. And perseverance, impatience, that's a call to action and a sense of urgency. People pleasing? Surely that's just empathy and a desire for harmony and some sense of connection. You see, some flaws are emotional needs that have not yet been met. Jealousy, that's a longing for reassurance and security. Procrastination, that's a fear of failure. Feeling overwhelmed. And anger, that is someone's boundaries being violated. I suppose a sense of justice that they feel hasn't been met. So sometimes ask yourself, what is this perceived flaw trying to tell me? Instead of seeing it as a broken aspect of yourself, it's just another message. It's just another call to you, to your wholeness, to discover who you are. It's just another form of self-discovery.
Day 12, is hip-hop's creativity a mental health issue?
When I see hip-hop in the top 40, I say good, because the thing people do not realize is that hip-hop is a country. The same way it was just a natural-born ideology that came from a group of people celebrating their lives from a continuation of their history, and then out of nowhere being attached to a name, and then out of nowhere having a price symbol attached to it. That was what you witnessed in colonization. Everything that you see happen to a genre, when it is then becoming a subgenre, when it then diverts from the actual purpose, when it then only attracts to a certain group of people that aren't the core audience, what you witnessed was a nation become exploited for its resources. You take the voices, you take the experiences, you take the lineage of a people, and then you take their flavor because you just enjoy the aesthetics of it, and then eventually empty it out from all that it means. But the aspect that we don't really take into account is the fact that the nature of it never truly dies. The essence of it never truly dies. Hip hop will never die the same way the blues never died. The blues will never die the same way our spirituals never died. It is all a continuation of our energy, of our people, and the story that is being told will continue to be be expressed. And it's like this funny aspect, right? We complain about the fact that it's not gaining this monetary value anymore, which is overall just subjective, right? That's not necessarily true. But the thing we all missed about Sinners is that the reason it seemed like such a good time was because they didn't let them in. It was at its best, the same way our art is truly at its best when intrusion didn't happen, when a price symbol didn't outrank everything else that was coming along with the genre, when the experience of it, when the culture of it was still at its core, was still at its root. And it's interesting, right? It's the same way people blame the individuals in the genre for its falling, which is the ironic aspect of why people blame a third world country that's still trying to develop for its own doing, despite the fact that the people inside of it are still blood-sucking like the vampires in the original film. See, you never catch me blaming the drug dealer for simply existing in their conditions, the same way you won't catch me blaming the exploitative rapper in these genres. I think the thing we always ignore when it comes to a genre falling in its artistic aspect is the fact that there is a market appeal that's coming. In the same way these people got to eat by selling these illegal products is the same way these people got to eat by making the songs and music that may not be the most artistically forward, but are just relating to the people in those areas and expressing a raw, decent emotion. I think after a certain extent, you got to come to a realization as a consumer who may not be in these products that folks got to eat, folks got to make it out, and they're going to do whatever they can out of it. And if that means I can make me a song that is a simple chorus, a simple tune, is reflective of where I come from, and that's going to get me and my family out the hood, then I'm going to do that shit. And to me, that's way better than selling heroin. So then when you take into the grand scheme of things why hip-hop has fallen, and just quite honestly, you have to look at it the same way you look at these countries. There is going to be a select few of aristocrats in this area that have a control of the resources, right? Whether it be a Jay-Z, whether it be a Diddy, whether it be a Nas, you know what I'm saying? And they are going to be the main distributors of what this here means, right? And whenever we make progress, whenever we make a distinction against the system, they'll be the ones who decide how far we go, right? What was the main thing we heard when we fought against the machine?
I think we past kneeling.
There comes representatives within that country that make the litigations between the colonizers as to how far we'll get, as to how far we're willing to let this go. And this is the aspect of hip hop that we got to realize and understand. It has always been anti-establishment. It has always been counterculture. Once it was being mainly used in service of it, it was never going to be a sustainable thing. But this is the aspect of hip hop that I'll never let die. The musicality will never go away. Hip hop in its uniqueness is the fact that it is quite literally postmodern art. Literally a Basquiat painting personified in the fact that it is taking things within modern technology and then crafting it with everything else that's existed. It is its own version of music that then spawned with EDM and everything else that is just the most contemporary aspect of what music can be now. So you'll never lose trace of it. In fact, because of the people that are still in it, because of the fact that it is a platform for anti-establishment messages, and because it will always be at its root accessible, it will never go away. The same way Rakim is forever the God MC, because he was the reason people started just talking normal in the booth in their rap songs, is the same reason why no matter what happens afterwards in musical progression, you will always reference it back to hip hop, because hip hop redefined what music can be, especially in the electrical context. Hip hop took what jazz was and created a world out of the little loops that existed within it. Hip hop will never die as long as our people and our conditions persist. The core reason you can identify why hip hop as the political machine, as the experiment, did not work, same reason why they cut SNAP benefits today and why they got rid of food stamps in the 90s. But we constantly become self-critiquing of it, and we constantly bash its character and bash what its existence was, when in reality it introduced so much of us to the political language we now use today. I will not know about Malcolm X and a lot of the teachings of the Black Panthers if it was not for the gateway that Tupac and all that music led to me to. You know what I'm saying? And I would not understand so much of my anti-prison ideas and everything if it was not for me being introduced at a young age to Pimp a Butterfly. I would not recognize the actual means that are forced against me as a young black man that grew up in a different context that wasn't suburban, that didn't grow up with all the resources. I would not understand that if it was not for this music telling me that. And that legacy will forever live on and everything else that's in it. You got to recognize what is being mined here in terms of the resources. And the resources are our lived experience. It is our spirit. It is our history. And then what is being done here? We are now stuck. What do we do now that we are stuck? Eventually, these people will leave. Eventually, they'll use our resources because they're no longer interested in this toy that they're playing with. But what will that mean for us? And truthfully, I think in our spirit and in our culture, reinvention, perseverance, and creativity is divinely within us. I don't ever see that going away.
Day 13. Do money and wealth solve mental health?
Looked it up, and money stress is actually the top stressor for Americans. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
Ahead of work, health, and relationships. Around 72% of people said they feel stressed about money in the last month, and 43% say money is actively hurting their mental health.
Yeah, it's very stressful when you are living paycheck to paycheck and you don't know where you're going, how you're going to provide for your family. Like that's all you think about, and that's all you like dream about. And it's just, I'm just blessed. We're all blessed that we don't have those problems.
What does the next decade look like with the generation of young men coming up trying to work their ass off that aren't seeing anything? The amount of people that are working hard, doing everything they can to put food on the table, put a roof over their head, provide for them and their family, even just them and their wife and their husband, whoever, is now in a world where if they work harder, they're not making enough money. And when they're not making enough money, they're being told it's because they're not working hard enough. They were able to do it. Grandma was able to do it. Uncle was able to do it. Sister-in-law was able to do it. Why can't you do it? Huh? You must not be working hard enough. You must not be doing it right. You need to stop being lazy. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps. What's the mental health of this country going to look like in the next decade if this continues? We already have the highest level of mental health, lowest levels of mental health amongst the Gen Z and young millennials that I believe historically has ever been registered. I don't know how long we've been studying that, but it's not good. Since COVID, it's not good. And now we're in a world where you have to make $128,000 to live comfortably in a home in America, according to the Wall Street Journal, where you have to make over $100,000 just to get to the point, honestly, if you're in a relationship with a home, to cover your bills. Not thriving, not saving, not investing, not growing, not gaining assets, not facilitating a lifestyle that you're going to be proud of in the land of opportunity with your hardworkedness. No, you'd be getting by. And I'm just going to be very real with you. As a real estate agent who was doing this for 8 years now, I served in the military. I went overseas. I fought in Afghanistan. I did the thing for this country. I'm sick. I'm sick of what this country is doing right now. Continuing to gaslight this next generation into thinking the opportunity is still there. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, the land of opportunity is not opportune right now. If you are looking in the mirror at yourself wondering what you're doing wrong, let me look into your camera and tell you you're not. Let me tell you, there are so many millions of young, hardworking men and women in our country right now that are not reaping the benefits that the past generations reaped. You are not dumb. You are not non-special. You are not doing it wrong. You are working hard, 40, 50, 60 hours, you and your significant other, maybe hundreds of hours of work a week within your household, and you still feel like you can hardly afford to raise your child? That's not fair. And no, I'm not a socialist, Marxist, communist, blah, blah, blah. It's simply not fair. I understand we're in a free market. I understand capitalism means work hard, get money, have all this opportunity to do something with your life because you have this freedom. This freedom. We always have freedom. Oh, free market, capitalism, yay, money. 74.6% of the money is in the top 10%'s hands. 32% of it's in the top 1%'s hands. I believe it's over a 0.25% in the top 0.1%. I just don't see what the next decade looks like if this continues. If nothing systemically shifts. If nobody actually makes change.
Nobody wants to admit this, but most of what people think are mental health problems are just money problems. And I'm not talking about kids' mental health problems because that's different. But as an adult, the people who look down on you for wanting more money in your life, who tell you that money creates more problems than it solves, usually all of their bills are paid and the rent isn't due. And they've got the audacity to tell you that wanting more money somehow makes you shallow. Try telling someone that when someone's having to choose between heating the house and eating. Try telling someone that when they're lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering how they're going to make the next month's wage work. That is not a mental mental health problem. That is clearly a money problem. And if you can find ways of fixing that, half of what you thought was wrong with your life disappears. When you don't have that financial anxiety over your head, you have more time to spend with your partner or your kids or your parents who sacrificed everything so that you could even be in this position. More money means that you have more time for your faith and your health. So the next time someone tells you wanting more money is greedy, ignore them, because peace is expensive and you're allowed to want more of it as long as you don't become a spiritually corrupt person. Stay kind and stay good intentioned and keep striving for more, because there's nothing wrong with it.
Day 14. Is everything replaceable? On disposability culture.
When everything is disposable, we stop seeing the point of care. Why repair when it's cheaper to replace? Why invest in anything when everything is temporary? We lose the art of patience, of maintenance, of slowing down to appreciate what we have. And it leaves us restless, always hungry, always needing something else to feel whole.
Ever wondered why we've been conditioned to a kind of throwaway culture where everything's disposable and everything eventually breaks, especially your cheap stuff? Your cheap stuff breaks really fast, and even the expensive stuff sometimes can't be fixed. Have you ever wondered why?
Because you can't replace people. You just cannot. As much as the world want to try to replace people for some odd reason.
You are not disposable and you are not replaceable. Your energy is a privilege and anyone would be blessed to have you in their lives. And I need you to really hear that, because some of you have been sitting in spaces where you feel like you're easy to forget. Like you leave the room and nobody notices the shift. You stop pouring and nobody asks why. And after a while, you start thinking that that's your value, but it's not.
Day 15. Does interior design help or harm our mental health?
How many people are never really moving in? You know what I'm saying? How many people are in apartments or homes right now that ain't fully furnished? And it's not even out of lack of resources. It's just that's that being so used to being unstable. Mm-hmm. You don't want to get that comfortable. You don't want to make it, you don't want to have that permanence about your home, right? So we admire it when we see other people with these fully furnished houses and all these accessories and these accents and these color schemes. But how many people are in places and, you know, they're just there. Yeah. They just taking up the space. You know, I got a bed, I got a dresser, I got all the basic necessities, but there's no soul in there. There's no personality in there. There's nothing in there that really represents you and who you are. Out of a fear of instability. So you're not really making your home a sanctuary. You live in constant anxiety about losing it. And maybe that you know, a lot of people bounced around as children and been bounced around because their parents was unstable. But you have an opportunity now to create some stability for yourself. And a lot of that has to do with just moving in. You just got to move in. You shouldn't have boxes in that house that ain't been unpacked. You had to unpack them from somewhere else and you're going to keep them packed up in your new spot? That ain't how that's supposed to go, man. You can't, don't be scared to live in there. If it's rent, we know it's temporary. But man, that's a long year. Yeah. That's a long year you signing up for by not just fully moving in there. You already ready to go. You preparing to leave. So you never really claim this place as yours. You know, you don't put no flair to it. There ain't no art in there. There ain't no family pictures. There's nothing representative of who you are. There's no representation of your spirit in there. Out of that fear come from being unstable. I understand, but that's a part of how you make it a sanctuary. It has to represent you. It needs to feel like you when you walk in there. That's why I chose, you know, the Grits Next thing was cool, but I wanted these curtains and things to be yellow, to be bright. You want it to pop when you come in here. You want to feel that calming and that joyful energy that come along with being in the studio. And I think that's why our guests always are so comfortable about opening up. This shit feel like home. Yeah. You know, the adjustment that I don't have to make is the adjustment to quote unquote fame is an easy one because I just been being myself.
Day 16, on protecting childhood, inner teen, and imagination.
And the real work is when you start to please your inner teenager. Fuck the inner child. The inner child is the one that wanted to be loved.
You need to hug and coddle her. The inner teenager is the anger. That's who's gonna build your motherfucking life. That's who's gonna get you to that level that you've been trying to get to. The reason why you haven't reached the heights that you've been wanting to reach is because you're not honoring your inner teenager. Your inner teenager wants vengeance, and you're trying to give her love. You're trying to pacify her. Give her the revenge she seeks.
Did you know that trauma can literally steal your imagination? I'm gonna break it down for you because I've been reading and I have my notes. My notes are really cute today. So now I just gotta share it with somebody. I see this a lot as a pediatric psych nurse because I work with kids that have been traumatized. And oftentimes you'll see that they no longer have this ability to dream of their futures. They don't like pretending. They don't like creative work, right? And you might think that this is like a defiance or, iPad kids, but it's not that. It is actually that trauma has a very real effect on your imagination and your ability to be creative. Let's talk about it.
Day 17 on hygiene, energetic discern, and preventive care.
It's always mental health matters until it's a basic hygiene issue. Oh my God, you haven't brushed your teeth in 5 days? You're disgusting. First of all, it's been 17. So that's so gross. How do you let it get like that? Brushing my teeth is the least of my problems. I was so sad that I wanted to the earth. So, yeah.
Somebody else said, I have depression, but it's never made me go that long without showering. I don't know if people just aren't aware of this, but having depression literally makes people want to not live. Let alone not shower and not brush their teeth, not take care of themselves.
Spiritual hygiene. Have you heard of this? Well, you should. So spiritual hygiene. Just like you won't go days without showering, you cannot go days without cleansing your energetic body, especially if you are sensitive, intuitive, an empath, or you're just simply doing spiritual work. Every interaction you have on a daily basis leaves an energetic residue. People, places, social media, trauma, even every random conversation. So if you're feeling drained, foggy, irritable, anxious, or not like yourself, that doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It typically means that you're carrying around energy that does not belong to you.
Day 18. Is sobriety necessary for mental health and wellness?
No smoking, 2.5 years. And it was the best thing and believe me, I wanted to. I was fighting it. I was fighting. I was sweating. I was in my house going crazy because I lived alone. So I was in my house going crazy. I was constantly talking to myself, me and God, and we just back and forth. You would think that it was people living in my house, how much I was talking to myself, but I made it. And it was the best thing I could have ever did in my life, Reggie and Jake. And it cleared out so much distractions. Now my reception is more clear now, and smoking to quit it is nothing for me now. Having no sex is nothing for me now, because it was all feeding the flesh. And that's basically how the world is turning now. We're feeding the flesh. We're feeding what's good for us, which is not maybe good for the soul and spirit. So once I did that, long story short, I was able to control how I move, what I like, what is not good for me, my soul, my mind. So anyone that's trying to just cut out something indefinitely, try a fast first, and then maybe try it with some friends so you can support each other along that road.
Day 19. The art of noticing and being aware of surroundings.
Learn how to read the room as an adult, because you need to have a high level of discernment when it comes to being able to tell when you're no longer welcome. So just learn how to read the room, because it also gives you great social cues about knowing when to say certain things. Like sometimes you're right, but just not right now. Sometimes bringing up that one particular issue at this point is not the best time to bring it up because you're unable to read the room. Learn how to read the room. It's going to help you a lot in life, a lot in situations.
Listen, if you can read a room in 3 seconds flat, you probably learned that the hard way, and this is for you. You see, I could walk into a house and know weather instantly. I can know whether it was a good day or a bad one, whether to be quiet, invisible, or extra helpful. And I can figure this out before anyone can even say a word. That was a skill that I actually developed in foster care, and that was something that actually kept me safe over the years, is learning how to read the room before everyone else learns how to read me, whatever the case. But here's the part nobody tells you. That instinct, that doesn't turn off when you become an adult. In fact, it probably amplifies because now you know where it comes from. Even now, I still notice myself still scanning everyone's mood, adjusting myself before anyone else even asks. And you might catch this in yourself too. That's a survival skill that you developed. It's a little bit of anxiety, but it's not anxiety for no reason, you know what I mean? And for me, that was something that kept me alive and running places that I didn't need anymore. You're not too sensitive. You know, a lot of people will probably look at this and be like, you're too sensitive. You're not too sensitive, you're just highly trained, you know?
I've come to realize that noticing is as much of a skill as it is an instinct. And one way that I have grown my ability to notice more is through repetition. When we're in natural spaces, we are constantly taking in new information. And while to notice, you do need to be able to slow down and take that pause and be mindful in that space. It's also very helpful to know what you're looking for and to understand the spaces that you're in. And one thing that nature always challenges me to do is to trust my instincts. The more I allow my intuition to guide me, the more that I see. It's not necessarily ever about searching for a moment, but more so being open to the possibility of seeing something new. Our experiences in nature and what draws us here are all so unique. So it's always fun to see what others hone into. Not only is it a cool process to experience for myself, but I think it's a beautiful process to witness in others.
Day 20. Why your creativity is intelligence and therapy.
We need creative outlets that allow us to express ourselves in a creative fashion. Because here's the thing, when you create something, you literally give yourself a form of therapy. Anything that's going on in here in the mind or psychologically, even stored trauma, it allows you to process and release things, whether it's limiting beliefs, it's certain pain that you've been experiencing, stored emotions, through speaking, through cooking, through artwork, through music, or whatever it is that you do, you allow yourself to heal through the creating process. You need to find a creative outlet that you can consistently spend energy into, not just sitting around consuming or working your job or staring at phones. You need to create. We have to create.
Creativity is the strongest indicator of intelligence. I repeat, creativity is the strongest indicator of intelligence.
Day 21. Is community necessary for mental health and wellness?
Erica was one of my clients who had been under my care for just over 3 years during my formative years of working as a psychiatrist. And at a time when I thought Erica was doing well, I got this call from Erica's mother to tell me that Erica had taken her own life. The reason why Erica's mother couldn't come to the hospital with Erica was because Erica and her parents didn't have the $10 bus fare to get onto a bus to come to the hospital. And so I immediately started thinking, there has to be a way of taking mental health to the community. I didn't know what it was going to be, but that was really the beginning of the work that I do. In Zimbabwe, we have on average one psychiatrist for every 1.5 million people. After the tragedy of Erica, I came across these amazing grandmothers in a community close to the hospital where I worked. And I realized they are the custodians of the local culture, and they could very well be the entry point to evidence-based care in communities across the country. The 14 grandmothers were the first people I opened up to about Erica's death. The first thing that they did was pray for me. they broke into this soothing, melodic Shona song, which led me to just break down in tears. And after that, there was just silence. That actually resulted in me being able to talk freely about Erica's death. My understanding of psychiatry was really based on the education that I had received as a psychiatrist. The grandmothers, they changed the way I think about therapy. Friendship Bench is a brief psychological therapy delivered by trained community grandmothers from wooden park benches across Zimbabwe and beyond. I started off with 14 grandmothers who I trained in the basics of cognitive behavioral therapy. How do you use your eyes when you're engaging another person on the bench? How do you use silence? It's not about identifying a person's diagnosis. In essence, the actual therapy is really about getting people to talk. Now, in Zimbabwe alone, we have over 2,000 grandmothers. The grandmothers always say this work gives them that sense of belonging and gives them a sense of purpose in their communities. Grandmothers who are involved with Friendship Bench are less likely to suffer from non-communicable diseases such as hypertension and diabetes. And they also have a very low rate of what we call common mental disorders. My ultimate vision is to scale Friendship Bench through our scale strategy, which we call the Friendship Bench in a Box, a DIY toolkit which brings together all the lessons that we have acquired. We've just done that in Washington, D.C. We're about to do the same in New Orleans. We found that the grandmas in Washington, D.C. have the same characteristics as the grandmas in Zimbabwe. But I would say that the most important thing about the work we do on the Friendship Bench is really creating that space for people to tell their stories. Because over the years, we've realized that when people begin to talk, that's when healing begins. My name is Dixon Chibander. This is my brief but spectacular take on healing communities through stories.
Day 22, how clothes and style affect your brain.
So I wanted to talk about fashion as it correlates to mental health. I have depression and a plethora of other mental illnesses, and I have for the majority of my life. And the reason that I started getting so focused on my fashion sense and figuring out what my style was is because it was a thing that made me feel better, even just a little bit. Recently, I've been having a pretty rough depressive episode, so I haven't been getting as dressed up as I would like to be, and it has definitely been frustrating. But this morning, I got up, I took a shower, I moisturized, and I put on some actual real clothes, and it feels really, really good and reminds me of why this is so important for me. Even the act of putting on my rings, getting all my accessories together, wearing my hat is super important for me to be able to navigate the world with a little more functionality. This year, a big goal of mine is to step outside of my comfort zone and try new things, get more into color, because I tend to wear a lot of black. And also upgrade on my staple pieces, because a lot of the clothes that I own, I've had for a decade. And just get a bit more playful with fashion. I feel like at the end of last year, I definitely was exploring that. And so I'm excited to continue that on. And hopefully this burst of energy will continue to give me the courage to do that.
They're calling it cortisol dressing, and to be honest, it is raising my cortisol levels. It is ringing the big beige alarm, which is just one of these. Anyway, cortisol dressing is apparently what happens after dopamine dressing, a term I remember seeing a lot of in the 2020 Visco days. Bright, colorful tethers to humanity in a quarantine and post-quarantine world. Not that wearing bright colors needed to be branded anything. And it's not like it's gone away entirely, even though for whatever reason Zara Larsson seems to be the only person getting credit for dressing like this.
this. Wearing color is still legal for now, but maybe not for long. We've been over beige, but she does have some sister colors. There's a whole sleepy sorority of low contrast shades to choose from. This is allegedly what the girlies are wearing to calm down, because the world is overstimulating with all of the prison camps and genocide. And of course, the brain rot. This is who you should be dressing for. The tung 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 sahur gaze. Colors like Butter Yellow brought to you by Big Dairy, Dusty Blue brought to you by RFK Jr.'s jeans, Washed Gray brought to you by Congress, also Tech Bros, Soft Pink Salmon DNA, Earthy Listeria Greens, and of course Oatmeal Beige. He's just looking out for your cholesterol and cortisol levels. The lukewarm decaf tea is that, like Pantone's Quiet the Mind Cloud Dancer, the goal is sedation and detachment. Served up to you as optimization culture mindfulness. If you're numbing yourself and snoozing away in pastels, you are less likely to keep an eye on the dismantling of the Voting Rights Act, for example. But joke's on you, because for a lot of us, ADHD or not, chronic boredom and dullness can actually lead to higher stress levels. And I'll admit, I love pastels too, but I love this more. And if that means I'm going to get cortisol face, then let the Michelin Man know that there is a new pillowhead in town.
Day 23, OPP, Other People's Projections and How Insecurity Works.
Stop letting these motherfuckers who don't know themselves from a can of paint tell you about yourself. People can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. So if that motherfucker ain't did their own work, ain't been to therapy, ain't aware of their own flaws, their own insecurities, who the fuck are they to tell you who you are? Didn't y'all mamas ever teach y'all not to argue with fools? Y'all be sitting there internalizing and getting yourselves all worked up because of another person and they shit, misplacing it on you, and you can't see the bigger picture. Take a step back and really realize that these people are miserable and they want you to join them. Tell these people, I'm not doing this shit with you. It's unfortunate that you feel the need to tear people down because you don't know how to communicate respectfully, but I'm not going to deal with it. Stop feeling like every time somebody say something you don't like or that's negative that you gotta cuss them out. Stop giving them your power, okay? Check their ass real cute and polite and bring in the fact that they have work that they need to do, baby, and go about your business.
Yo, people project onto what activates their negative emotions. The other person can be doing nothing, which can piss whoever else off, and then they associate those negative emotions with that person. They think that they are the problem. Since the other person activated their negative emotions, they associate it with them. Other people are like mirrors to who we are. We naturally compare ourselves. Through our logic and emotions, it can reveal insecurity. Other people can show us what we lack. They can reveal our own contradictions, especially if they have less of them. For instance, someone who is extremely accountable can piss off someone who isn't. It gets their egos reactive. It destabilizes them, and then they associate it with the other person. They may feel anger, shame, guilt, sadness, some sort of discomfort, and associate it with whoever's creating the mirror, whoever's revealing what's within them. They don't realize it has nothing to do with whoever. It has everything to do with them. There is no enemy, there is only the inner me. A lot of times it's just people fighting with their own egos. Always stay calm, respectful, and don't feel like you need to manage anyone else's emotions. Sometimes it could be exactly that which upsets them. Negative emotions are often useful, except when it comes from insecurity. Then it can really be self-destructive.
Day 24, Communication, Expression, and the Power of Conversation.
There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence, than being able to articulate, be able to think, to marshal your arguments, right? It's a battlefield metaphor. So, I mean, that's part of the reason that rap artists are so popular, especially among disaffected young men, black and white alike, because they're unbelievably articulate. Like, they have this incredible verbal prowess. It's unbelievably attractive, you know, and it's associated with genuine artistic and redemptive activity, often focusing on something that's approximately the voice of the underclass, let's say, but a powerful voice, right?
Dr. Martin here. Everyone's talking about love languages. I need y'all to talk about anger languages too, and frustration languages too, because there are different things that you need when you're angry or frustrated or irritable. Some people need space. Some people need to talk. These people are always married. I kid you not. So, yes, let's figure out love languages, but let's also talk about what you need during certain times of frustration or when you're dealing with negative moods. And let's talk about what I can do to serve you better in that way. And let's talk about the range of emotions and the language with emotions to know that I can provide you with what do you need when you're frustrated versus furious? What do you need when you're happy versus ecstatic? What do you need when you're, hungry versus famished? We need to learn how to express the range of emotions, because so many times we're saying that we're frustrated and we're furious, and I'm giving you what you need last time you were frustrated, but this is different because we're on a different spectrum. So it's not just about love languages. It's also about, anger and frustration languages, and just really being aware of the different levels of your emotion can really help you to know that, like, say you got like a barometer, you got a thermometer, and this anger, right? When you're at a 3, you need some space. When you're at a 4, you need more time alone. When you're at a 2, you're in a position to talk, but you need to know what you need at those different levels.
Day 25, food and mental health, a connection or nah?
No one talks about how hard it is to beat a food addiction. Like, food is probably like one of the main worst drugs ever, ever. Fuck weed, fuck alcohol, fuck pills. Food is probably like one of the hardest things to wean yourself off of. And it's because you need food to survive. When I tell you it's so hard to stop binge eating, like alcohol and stuff, I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, but like I used to drink every day at one point. It was easier to get off of that than to get away from food. It's so hard when you're addicted to food. And like, I struggle with this every day. Sometimes I have good days, or like I will go on a span of like, I'll do good for a week. And then I would be like, okay, I deserve a cheat day or a cheat meal. And then the cheat meal turned into a cheat day. And then the cheat day turned into a cheat 2 days. And then I just get back off track. It's so fucking hard. And it's not even like I'm hungry. I'm not hungry, but like food, it cures every fucking emotion. When you're addicted to food, it cures every emotion. When I'm hungry, I'll overeat. When I'm bored, I eat. When I'm about to go do something, I eat. Like, I eat before everything. It used to be to a point where I would literally know that I'm finna go out to eat, but because I'm so fucking hungry, I will make something to eat and eat that before I go out to eat, and then eat again. And then I'll go out to eat and be full as fuck, put the food in a container, and then as soon as I get home, 10, 15 minutes later, I'm eating the fucking container. Like, I can't stop eating, and I don't even have to be hungry. I used to get sick from eating. Like, I would be in my room, eat a whole Chipotle bowl, and like I would be laying there, like flat on my bed, just laying there, waiting for my stomach to go down for me to get up and like do something, because I'm so fucking full. I still struggle with food. It's so bad, and I don't know what to do.
I think the number one reason why we don't think of food in this, specifically this nervous system stress way, is because we've been so conditioned to think about it as health. And there's a distinct difference between eating for health and eating for peace. So when we think about health, we think about long-term goals. So we think, I want to lose weight, or I want to have nice skin, or I want to age beautifully, right? These are future ideas. Whenever we're oriented toward a future idea, we're disoriented from where we are right now. So it's not an embodied experience. It's I'm eating this because down the line it's going to help me. What's so brilliant about understanding food through a nervous system perspective is your food affects your nervous system 30 minutes after eating it. And it cycles every 3 to 4 hours based on your glucose levels. So every 4 hours, you literally have this opportunity to have an entirely new mind, an entirely new nervous system, because of your glucose and how your glucose affects your fight or flight response.
Day 26, movement and mental health. Does exercise matter?
When you move your body, you give your brain time to unclog itself and a way to move energy through it. And I'm just saying that you don't have to think about it as a 45-minute, workout routine. You can do something as simple as dancing to your favorite song. It could be a walk down the street that's 5 or 10 minutes a day. You could literally stretch in your bed for 5 or 10 minutes. This works for all ages and all sizes and shapes. And I'm just saying that doing so makes you feel good.
But cardio is where the mental strength is built. Every step is like stress leaving your body, anxiety getting quieter, and your brain finally minding its own business for once. Because when you're running, you can't spiral and breathe at the same time. You gotta pick a struggle, ladies. And that's why I love it. Not just for the body, but for the mind. Cardio helps you regulate, reset, and remind yourself, I can do hard things.
I want you to lift heavy weights. Put down the little mamby-pamby pink weights, please. I want you to lift as heavy as your bones will let you for 3 to 6 reps. This is how you build stem cells. This is how you build mitochondria, which are the powerhouses. And this is how you're not going to fall down from a standing position and break your hip. Number 2, I want you to work in 20 jumps a day. You could do it just like this. This works 20 times. You could go up and down stairs. You could jump rope if you want. That will build better bones. Lift heavy and jump up and down.
Depression hates a moving target. Anxiety hates a moving target.
That's good.
Move your body, because the body is created to do this without your consent. It's doing what it was designed to do. When you move, I release those endorphins. That dopamine is going to give you a little bit more joy. That serotonin is going to give you a little bit more happiness. But everything is telling you not to do that. That is a small thing. 3 minutes every hour. Move your body.
Day 27 on discern, gut feelings, and self-determination.
You know, I realized I started pushing people away because I got hurt once and I thought that everybody was the same way and my discernment wasn't good. So I started to shelter myself a little bit and started to kind of close myself off because I didn't want people to know me. I didn't want people to hurt me. I didn't want people to, you know what I'm saying, just feed me things and me believe them and then it ended up being a lie. If I'm being honest, I realized we can't do that. You know what I'm saying? We can't expect everybody to treat us the same way. It's like you can't expect everybody to treat you good. You feel what I'm saying? So your only job is to know your discernment when it comes to people. If people have shown you signs, don't stay in those situations because you feel that they can get better. And I've gotten to a point where my fuse is small when it comes to people. Like if I see something that's like, all right, bet, like they are conscious and aware that they're doing this, then I just walk away. And over time, I started to get more genuine people around me. I started to get more people that I genuinely fuck with or I resonate with in my life based off of the fact that I didn't stay in situations I knew I shouldn't stay in, and I didn't give people chance after chance after chance. You feel me? I feel like a lot of us give people too many chances, and then we get hurt, and then we expect everybody to hurt us the same way. Instead of just seeing the red flags and walking away right there, that right there sets your boundaries. Just learning your discernment and learning, okay, not everybody's gonna hurt me, but not everybody's gonna treat me well. Put them to the test, you feel me? See how people move. If people move with bad integrity, walk away from them.
Listening to the things that my gut is like, that I'm literally like that and I feel like sometimes we say gut so much that we kind of like disconnect the gut from the rest of the body, but that my full body is just like, okay, this is what we doing, this is how we doing it, this is whatever, right? That is one thing that I have learned about myself, is that my full body will literally just naturally just go towards something when it's for me. When I'm having like a full body reaction to something or someone or whatever, and I mean a very unsettling, anxious type of feeling. Even if what I'm coming up in my mind, because this is what BPD come in at, even if I'm coming up with scenarios in my mind that don't quite actually fit what is on the other side of what my body is having this back away from me type of energy, anxious energy from, even if what in my mind is not what is actually happening or what is going on, there is something in the equation that's not fucking adding up and that is not for me and I'm not supposed to go towards. And anytime I've ever in my life went against that anxious feeling my whole body feels, anytime I've ever gone against it, it has always been something that could have been fucking avoided, okay? So that is one thing that I've learned about my intuition's language.
Day 28 on technology, AI, mental health, and hip-hop innovation.
Because Beat Street really sort of chronicled almost sort of the birth of hip hop. You really kind of see the birth of hip hop in this movie and dance. And what you see is the innovative way people from the neighborhoods in New York took things like turntables and created a whole new sound. right? It was using science and technology to create something new for the culture.
That's right.
Graffiti artists did the same thing,
Right.
They created nozzles, right? And they created different patterns. We created a whole new sort of genre.
Interactive technology lives in museums and exhibitions. But when was the last time you saw it at an R&B and hip-hop festival? This is how I'd reimagine London's R&B, hip-hop, dancehall, Afrobeat fairground. Recess Land.
Hi, I'm Tia, a creative technologist from North London, and this is my new series, New Vision Reimagined, where I create prototypes of interactive installations or visuals that elevate our music, fashion, and even corporate spaces of today with Blender Touch Designer afterwards. So here's how it works. As guests walk in, the live camera spots them and then presents the live filter on the Recess LED wall so that the audience can take pictures, capturing the moment and sharing it on socials. As a result, the audience stops becoming spectators as soon as they arrive. They actually become a part of the atmosphere before the DJ even touches the decks. In this design, I spent 2 days perfecting this LED wall so you won't have to. If you're a brand, an event organizer, or even just a visual designer getting into live experiences, this LED wall is ready to elevate your crowd.
Social media isn't social anymore. I go on my friends' profiles, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this. My friends tell me this all the time, like, you don't come up on my feed. And that's probably the reason why I have more than 400,000 followers. And it just doesn't get shown to anyone. I don't see my friends on social media. I don't see the people that I know on social media. I see a fucking AI Christian artist on my social media. It's actually ruining our society, and we need to actually think about this. So yeah, I really want to get off this shit, and I hope that everyone wants to get off this shit, and I really hope that in a few years AI has literally become so bad that we literally just we all leave and we start going back to radio and promoting artists in real life and live performances. And yeah, I just hope that this ends soon, because it's a black hole and it's sucking us all in.
To your AI system. About 1 in 8 people aged 12 to 21 are using AI chatbots for mental health advice. For ages 18 to 29, it's 28%. And in the 12 to 21 group, more than 93% of them said the advice was helpful. I'm not surprised that people find it helpful. AI is available all the time. It answers instantly. It's basically free. It doesn't get tired of your questions. It can help you name what you're feeling, organize your thoughts, prepare for a hard conversation, or see another angle. And that is all very valuable. But the fact that a tool is useful does not mean it is safe to use. AI is built to mimic human communication. It can sound caring. It can sound confident. It can sound authoritative. But underneath it is predicting helpful sounding language based on patterns. Think of AI like a computer playing a role. Ask it about medicine, and it can play a realistic doctor. Ask it about depression, marriage, addiction, grief, loneliness, or parenting, and it can play the part of someone wise and caring. That can be useful. It can also be misleading if you forget what the tool is. Here are the custom instructions that I recommend adding to your AI. When I ask for advice, do not simply validate me. Separate facts, assumptions, feelings, and interpretations. Give more than one plausible interpretation. Tell me what you might be missing. Do not imitate intimacy. Help me leave the conversation with more agency. A good AI conversation should make you more capable, not more dependent. It should help you think more clearly. It should not become an authority inside your head.
Day 29. Breaking generational cycles and creating new realities.
I just wanted to remind you that generational curses aren't just doing the things that your family or your bloodline didn't get a chance to do. It's about breaking the pattern. Unfortunately, a lot of family don't talk about what the patterns are. So you sometimes find yourself in this loop of confusion Like, why am I doing this shit? When really, that's the generational curse. That trauma stay in your body.
They called you strong, but what they really meant was thank you for not being a burden. That's what they really meant. You weren't raised, you were recruited into a silence, into a service, into emotional cleanup duty before you ever even got to know what your favorite color was. You were the one who knew the argument was coming by the sound of a fork hitting the counter. The one who laughed at the right moment so nobody fought. The one who hid your tears so no one had to face their own. They were when they said to you that you were so mature, when they told you that, but really, you just didn't feel safe enough to be a child around them. You learned to swallow your needs like they were grenades. You learned to earn safety by becoming invisible. You were the peace offering they never deserved. So let's just be honest about this time. Because the only reason that house stayed standing was because you let it collapse on top of you. Every time somebody says, but you always had it all together, I want you to remember, you were falling apart the whole time. You just made it look graceful. Because no one taught you how to fall without becoming the mess. You became the responsible one. So your siblings could rage. So your parents could vent. So the whole house could keep pretending that dysfunction was just culture. That's not strength. That's generational debris you mistook for identity. And now, guess what? You can't cry without apologizing. You say it's fine when you really mean I'm breaking. You show up for everyone but can't name one person who shows up for you. You kept that whole family together. But now they're fine. And you're exhausted. They thrive on the back of your erasure. And they will never say thank you. I just want to open it like that. So let me say it for them. Thank you. Now put it down. The glue, I'm talking about the roll, the silence. Thank you. Okay, somebody said it now. You don't need to hold it together anymore. You are what they couldn't hold. And that's not your fault. That's your freedom. I just want you to see what you mean. You've held it down so long, you've forgotten how to breathe. In the first place that you'll find air, I'll promise it'll be in your collapse. So it's okay to welcome collapse. It doesn't need to be the thing that welcomes you.
Day 30. Order as self-care. The power of routines and rituals.
I'm reminding myself daily that the benefit of having a routine isn't so that I could be successful, even though that's the end goal, but it is so I can reduce the amount of thinking, deciding, negotiating that I have to do in a day. Especially for people with ADHD, a routine acts like an external structure when your internal structure is all over the place. And so if you've fallen out of your routine, this is your sign to get back into it. If you've never had a routine, this is your sign to create one. A routine isn't to make your life rigid, but it is to reduce the chaos and give your life structure. It helps you focus on what actually matters as opposed to jumping from one thing to another. People who make progress in life usually have systems that support them, and I think a routine is one of the easiest systems that we can build.
Once you do get that routine, and maybe you have it already, always make sure that you're tweaking that routine with a little bit of free flow. Always be tweaking that routine with a little bit of shaking it up by doing something different. Because what this allows is fresh energy, new energy, surprises from the universe, surprises from God that can bring you things that you have been asking for, right?
First thing when you get up in the rising, first thing when you wake up, what do? You feel what I'm saying? You know, when you don't really have a routine, you know, you tend to fall back on your bad habits. You tend to, you know, freestyle the day and you have no structure, right? The first thing you should do when you wake up is to take care of your mind, really prepare your mind for the day, right? A lot of people, you know, first thing they wake up, they go on Instagram or Facebook, TikTok or whatever. And, you know, you're still in that daze where, you know, you're just waking up, you're not fully awake yet, and you're taking in everything without even knowing it. And it's leaving an imprint on your subconscious mind. And you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Day 31. 31 days of hip-hop mental health. Thank you, and stay well.
Whenever I went through something, it brought me closer to God. And I stayed into something. So now I'm closer to God. But being closer is hard, because the attacks get stronger. become much harder to fight and they last longer. That's what it's always been. Joy with the pain, dark with the light, sun with the rain. But with the right perspective, there can be something to gain. Look for the good and the bad, not the sun when it rains. You know what I mean? The situation, you can get something good out of it if you're strong enough emotionally to look past the fact that you do have the right to be hurt, but you know what? Let me put my hurt aside for a minute and see what I can get from this situation.